I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
Rolling endlessly across planet sea, transport Zoids of the Xenobus army with silver shells and reliable tread. Red Gustavs keep Empire combat Zoids fed. Forged and built like cybernetic woodlace. Red Gustavs will repair, refit and splice. Rolling steel treads get them across the land. Support Zoids keeps the numbers army grand. Radically grand. Red Gustavs mechanized and powerless. Red Gustavs doesn't even use suffice. Red Gustavs touching red and silver steel. Red Gustavs hulking transport Zoids on wheel. But even Republic sees your worth. Helling first to have Gustavs cross the earth. Now Empire specification machines, we must rid Helling Gustavs from our screens. Red Gustavs don't just repair and carry. With their antenna they keep minefields free. With thick armor they ensure most attacks keep rolling. Red Gustavs on rubber tracks. Red Gustavs, mechanized Empire worthless. Red Gustavs, doesn't even use suffice. Red Gustavs, doesn't red and silver steel. Red Gustavs, hulking transport Zoids on wheel. Cheer for Red Gustav's Empire Essential. Red Gustav's make a nice empire workplace. Red Gustav's wasn't evils you suffice. Red Gustav's wasn't red and silver steel. Red Gustav's hawking transport Zoids on wheel. Red Gustav's make a nice empire workplace. Red Gustav's wasn't evils you suffice. Red Gustav's wasn't red and silver steel. Red Gustav's hawking transport Zoids on wheel. With your 3D radar, you've got tricks too. Scanning wide for helic Zoids you do. Though you lack weapons, you have potential. Cheer for Red Gustav's Empire Essential.
But the ways of destiny are strange indeed. Though it seems as though the Zoids must battle among themselves for all eternity, fate provides them with an escape in the shape of their deadliest foes, the Red Zoids. I remember how I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, stood witness over the birth of the Red Zoids. I was returning to Zoidstar. The Zoids under my command were in need of repairs and fuel. We never completed our journey. Our ship made a forced landing on Zoidstar's blue moon. I nearly perished in the crash. The blue moon was a world vastly different to Zoidstar. Cold, airless, uninhabited. To survive, the Zoids changed. Where the first Zoids were cold creatures of metal, the Zoids of the Blue Moon became adapted to their new environment. Their bodies now generated heat. Their blue shells became red, and these Zoids did not battle among themselves, but cast around in search of others to turn into creatures like themselves. Thus they became Red Zoids, terrible metal monsters whose only driving force was the defeat of the Blue Zoids and the destruction of all life in the galaxy.
In the shadows of planet Zoidstar night, elusive Red Zoid comes after the fight. Wander alien wastelands cold and bare. Fallen Zoids Red Scavenger will repair. No taste for battle, he fixes the slain. Red Scavenger seeks no glory or gain. Searching the sandy wastes for Zoids to fix. The redwood loves Zoid of metal with tricks. The Red Scavenger, rolling through iron and steel. Red Scavenger, restore Zoids so they can feel. Red Scavenger, tireless field medic. Red Scavenger, cares for the broken and sick. Revived by Red Horn from ancient city, Red Scavenger sees and takes pity. Discarded by Zoidarians, he tries to restore Red Horn and his Zoid allies. With Red Horn repaired, Red Scavenger goes. Leads the terrible one to where who knows. Till he comes across the Prince of Darkness. Clock recruits Red Scavenger for success. Red Scavenger, rolling through iron and steel. Red Scavenger, restore Zoids so they can feel. Red Scavenger, tireless field medic. Red Scavenger, cares for the broken and sick. Tarantulons from battlefields he collects. Destroyed Red Zoids he rebuilds and corrects. Now under Croc the Red Scavenger works to create much greater Zoids while he lurks. Red Scavenger, rolling through iron and steel. Red Scavenger, restore Zoids so they can feel. Red Scavenger, tireless field medic. Red Scavenger, Red Scavenger, rolling through iron and steel. Red Scavenger, restore Zoids so they can feel. Red Scavenger, tireless field medic. Red Scavenger, cares for the broken and sick.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.